Hello and welcome back to the Swingman podcast. This is going to be episode 3 of the series. And in today's episode, we'll be debating whether fans are too involved in the game. Over the course of 48 minutes, my co-host and I will debate recent fan involvement in basketball and whether it's crossed the line. We'll also be talking about players starting to fight back against the heckling, and we'll be giving our 2 cents on who's really allowed to criticize players. So without further ado, please enjoy episode 3, Are Fans Too Involved in the Game? So, jumping straight into things, we got a super interesting topic. Because as of recent, I feel like fan involvement in the game has been stupid insane.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know whether that's because of social media or whatever. And it
yeah,
probably is, you got Twitter, you got Instagram, whatever.
yeah,
But uh yeah, as of recent, fans have become a lot more outspoken in the game. Not even in basketball in general. I'm talking about all aspects of sport. Like it's crazy how much these uh these athletes are getting heckled online. So we're
yeah.
gonna obviously dive into that. What are your opinions on fans heckling athletes?
The thing is, it's a part of the game. Fans are gonna be fans, whether it's home or away, whether you're doing bad or not. They're always gonna heckle. But I feel like there's a very fine line in what you can say, and what you can't say. So, like a fan could be like, you should have took that shot, all that kind of stuff. But then when it comes to, I think someone was heckling Westbrook, and they were including his family with it. I don't know whether you heard of it, but it got
No, I mean I heard about it in the press conference, but what I had assumed happened was they basically took the mick out of his name. So
yeah,
I've heard the whole Westbrook conversation,
yeah,
and I'm like, to me personally, I'm like, that's funny. I can take that like with a
yeah,
with a grain of salt because
yeah.
it's just a play on words. Like I find humor in that, but um I don't know if it got more serious than that. So yeah,
I
what exactly happened?
I thought so. From the press conference, I don't know the exact words from what I saw from what Russ said. It was more of a it was heckle me all you want, but don't include my family kind of type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just crazy because, again, it's like it happened to LeBron this year as well. Someone, I think someone either cost either cussed Bronny out
Yeah,
for no apparent reason, and then Bronny, it was at Indiana, and then LeBron just said to the security, "Yo, get these two acting up, get them out of here."
yeah.
I don't know what exactly was said, but I know that it was serious because when I was looking into it, it was something about Bronny. And normally with LeBron, he's kind of like calm with the heckling. He doesn't really mind, doesn't really care about it.
Mm,
He'll rebuttal here and there. But I mean, 19 years in the league. He's used to it by now. But
yeah.
it was kind of a thing where, yeah, it was just crazy. It was something crazy that was said.
Because in my opinion, basketball is one of the least hooliganism defined sports. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
with football, they generally have a reputation of like drunks that go to the pub and start, you know, messing around after the game kind of thing,
yeah,
yelling, throwing stuff on the court. Sorry,
yeah,
yelling and throwing stuff on the pitch. Like you don't really hear that from basketball much, apart from what was that called? Um,
yeah.
so you've never really heard about instances like that happening apart from the famous Malice in the Palace.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
that wasn't even to do with a fan necessarily. It was more
Yeah.
so a reaction to a heckle that started. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it wasn't anything as extreme as somebody throwing stuff on the
yeah,
court. Like it never really escalated until somebody took it personal.
yeah.
I'm saying whereas other sports you hear about, I don't
Football.
know, firecrackers being
Yeah,
thrown and
yeah.
stuff like this. Like
Footballs.
basketball, in my opinion, is one of the most passive sports in terms of fan involvement
Yeah,
and heckling. But just as of recent, people have just become more outspoken, getting more brave.
yeah, yeah.
And to me, like, in my honest opinion, if you're in that spotlight, you need to be ready for that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So take whatever they're saying with a grain of salt because
Oh
you
yeah,
know that like you're in a better position than they are. So why would it even affect you in the first place? You know what I'm saying? But I guess the main debate here
yeah,
is like how much is too much because I feel like fans haven't really been considering athletes or celebrities for that matter
yeah,
as normal human beings with
yeah.
normal human emotions.
Like, I found out what the fans said to well, what they had allegedly said according to an eyewitness in the Pacers crowd. They said, and I quote, "I hope Bronny dies in a car wreck."
Whoa.
Yeah, I remember it bringing about Bronny, and remember it being very extreme. But that's what I had just searched up, and it said an alleged eyewitness said that the people said to LeBron, "I hope Bronny dies in a car wreck."
Like that to me, right? Like I said, I do feel like the NBA is one of the most passive leagues in terms of heckling. But like, at the end of the day, that must have been under influence of alcohol because like why would that ever leave your mouth in the first place when you're talking about strictly basketball? Like I understand
Yeah,
heckling when it comes to keeping it within the game. Like I'll call a player terrible trash on the court
yeah,
all I like, but
yeah.
I'm not gonna involve anything outside of the game, you
See,
know?
that's the thing with basketball, having played it as well. The fact is that the fans are so up close to you. The thing is, you can say what you want, and you can aim it at me, and you can aim it at, and every player, whether you're pro, semi-pro, amateur, will always take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But I feel like when it comes to going after the player, so like going for their family, for their friends, for their wife, for all of this kind of stuff, then it's a bit like maybe you're touching a gray area. Like some players will take it and be like, "Ha, okay,
Mm,
very funny."
hmm.
But when it comes to certain things like people's families, maybe it's a very sensitive subject. I mean, no, it is a sensitive subject. Saying that to bloody to LeBron James or to anyone in fact hoping your kid dies, that's a bit
Yeah.
all right, that's a limit. Get out of here.
I don't know why it's been happening the way that it has been, but I feel like they somehow found this newfound confidence like,
Yeah.
oh, because you're a celebrity, you won't lash back out at me.
And if you do, that's a court case on you, and I'm getting money. I feel like that's what they do. So recently another thing happened with um with Yusuf Nurkic and
Yeah, we threw that
yeah,
fan's phone.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so I don't really know too much of what happened with that Jokic incident. Obviously, the video went trending online, like it exploded all throughout the internet. Um, but you could obviously see that like Nurkic was distressed by whatever the fan said.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, do you know what happened there or no?
I don't know what was said. I'm assuming so in the video, Nurkic was already walking towards in that general area, whether that's to go through the tunnel to go to the dressing room. But there was a fan there holding his phone, obviously recording Nurkic, had said something. Nurkic
Mm,
then got a bit heated, threw the phone, and then they went head to head. Obviously, the fan then stood their ground, which to me says if you hit me, that's court case on you. I'm
Yeah,
gonna get my money. Because normally Nurkic isn't. I don't know the history with Nurkic and fans, but I haven't heard his name pop up before of him trying to confront fans or anything like that. So again, to see someone that's a foot shorter than a I think he's like 6'11", 6'7", 1". I don't know
hmm
how tall he is.
practically 7 foot.
Yeah, a 7 foot center who is probably nearly, which is considerably heavier than the fan, stood his ground. I mean, good on him. He seemed like a tough guy, but
You could
I,
kind of see what his intentions were with
yeah,
like
and
pushing the boundaries, I guess.
he was smiling at the same time, which meant
Yeah,
he meant to say something. That something ended up actually doing what he thought it was gonna do, and it was nearly close to the point where, cool, he touches me, that's money lost on him.
yeah, yeah. And the point you made about Nurkic and him being confrontational with fans, you're right. Like I've never ever heard of a scenario where he's gotten too out of control.
Yeah,
And that's what kind of wanted to dive into. Like you kind of know it's too much when people who usually aren't in the radar for being like aggravated by things like that
yeah,
are all of a sudden lashing out at fans. Like let's take I think it was Clay Thompson.
yeah.
Yeah, so he got fouled on a play. The
Was it the
fans said
Philadelphia?
something and he just flipped.
Was it the Philadelphia incident?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And you've like a pretty calm and collected guy when it comes to
Yeah,
playing the game of basketball. Like he doesn't involve himself too much in
in that kind of stuff.
yeah, in the drama of things. But
Yeah,
like to see him react the way he did,
was kind of crazy.
yeah,
Yeah,
you could tell like, okay, that was out of line. But I wanted to bring it back to Russell Westbrook for a second because he is known to actively be involved with heckling,
yeah,
but his reactions are immediately to get fans tossed out of the game. So, my question to you is, are NBA players becoming a little bit soft and a little bit sensitive to the point where they understand their power and they
yeah.
can just be like,
Get this guy out
one
of
comment,
it.
I'm
Yeah,
getting him out because I can do that.
yeah. Um, it's tough because obviously we don't know what's being said. We don't know who said, like that fan like that confrontational fan he had against Utah.
I was just about to mention that one. I think it was
So
an issue on like it was a racist issue.
yes, it
So
was.
that's obviously granted, right?
Yeah, but obviously the fan didn't turn around and said, "Oh, I didn't say nothing, none of that.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just this," and he told my wife to STFU and all that kind of stuff, and it was just like. But then when people searched up even more, and then there was more videos being released, and then when people were doing CRB checks on the people
Hmm.
that were giving verbal towards Russell, it kind of checked out that it was a bit of a racist crime.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough because you don't know what the hecklers or the fans are saying to them. Like it's we don't know, there isn't a mic on every single fan seat that can hear what this fan is saying, what that fan is saying. So we don't know what's being said.
Hmm.
Now, obviously, back then to now is a lot different. Players are more outspoken, which is good. Back then, players would just be like, "I'm gonna keep myself to myself, or else this will happen."
Hmm.
And it's just different things. Like it's I wouldn't say they're more soft. I would just say they're more outspoken. You say something to me that I think is out of line, I will get you kicked out. I had the
Yeah.
power to do so, and good luck because you're probably gonna get banned from the arena.
Mm. I
And
understand that they do have a lot of power, right?
yeah,
But in your opinion, do you think there's a double standard between players and the fans? Because it seems like nowadays the fans can say whatever they want and not have any repercussions apart from obviously getting tossed out the venue.
yeah,
But
yeah,
as soon as somebody speaks out against that, they're like this villainous character. Let's take KD for example.
Yeah.
I think ever since he left OKC, he's been a very, very vocal, not just to fans, but to the media. And he openly expresses his opinion, but he gets some kind of flack for that. So
I think because everyone was going at him, at his mom, at everyone, that he was just like, "No, enough is enough. I'm not gonna be that innocent KD that everyone thinks I am. If someone tries to at me, I'll at them back." So like, there was
yeah.
another video that went viral. Someone said to KD in the front row, saying, "KD, you need to take over," and then KD said, "Why don't you STFU and enjoy the game?"
But that's what I'm saying. Like that to me, in my opinion, is soft.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that isn't even a heckle at that point. That's more motivational talking. But for
yeah.
you not even to accept fan acknowledgement is soft. Like I don't really know how else to explain it.
I feel like people. I think I'm gonna bring this back to the 2020 COVID season of the whole Disney World.
Yeah,
I feel like it all ranged to that. Obviously, everyone was at home and was saying all they can to the screen, so they thought that they can do that in the arena.
yeah.
And it's the same with the players. Players obviously played half of a season and a whole playoff run in an arena where it's just family.
Mm,
And there was a couple incidents, like I think Rondo and Westbrook brother got into an altercation, and this was being said and that was being said, but that was pretty much it. And
yeah.
I think the players in that sense was kind of spoiled, where it was like it was just family. Family's not going to say anything much unless
Mm-hmm.
it goes a bit personal. Then fair enough, but it only happened once in the bubble, to my knowledge. And I think obviously everyone being at lockdown, being at home, everyone's kind of excited, like, oh, NBA game, all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and then they just go berserk. And it's
Yeah.
just
Go on.
because pre COVID, it wasn't really like this. It wasn't like as frequent as it is post COVID. Kind of like it's kind of crazy. Like people can say whatever they want. Fans normally had a good relationship with um with players. Like even the time when Steph got ejected in the NBA finals, he threw his mouth guard, hit a fan. Fan was like, "Nah, I'm cool with that. Don't worry about that. I'm not gonna do anything about it." Didn't take it
Mm-hmm.
anywhere further. Whereas if that was to happen now, I'm pretty sure that a fan will do up Neymar and just be like rolling around the floor saying, "Ah, my leg hurts," all this kind of stuff, trying to get their
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
So I just feel like it's kind of to do with the whole we were in lockdown situation. I'm gonna do my thing as long as you don't do your thing.
Two things I want to address there. I believe where it started getting really bad was, in my personal opinion, the 2019 finals with the Golden State Warriors and
Raptors.
uh, Toronto Raptors.
I think I
When
remember that.
KD went down, the amount of fans that cheered for his injury was ridiculous. And that to me was like, how insensitive can you be? Like,
Yeah.
somebody is genuinely
In,
injured.
yeah.
Like, where's the humanity in that?
Yeah.
Because I had never seen an instance like that. Yeah, fair
Never.
enough.
Yeah.
The anticipation is high, and you obviously want to root for your home team, and eliminating a guy like KD will help you win that game. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's like if your friend was injured, you're not gonna laugh in his face about it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So there was an aspect where I was like, this is the most animalistic league I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
But the second thing I wanted to address is to your point about the 2020 whole bubble situation.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I feel like the main reason why fans are super outspoken nowadays is because of the excitement of what it's like to see a celebrity.
Yeah.
Like I'm just talking about in general. If you see a celebrity, whether it be in a concert or on the street, they
Yeah.
go manic.
Yeah.
And I feel like that excitement just bubbles up to the point where they're like, they just blurt out stuff without even thinking of the consequences.
And they think it's banter. Yeah.
Yeah, and they think it's like friendly banter because let's be honest, like you would cuss your friends out
Oh yeah.
because you know it's just jokes. But
Yeah.
if they feel like, oh yeah, I get to see my idol, like he's my friend, I get to, have this little back and forth chat, and then you realize
Oh, I think I went a bit too far. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so I feel like it kind of is just this attention grab where
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, let him notice me. Like, let me just say something obscene
Yeah.
to let him notice me. But then when they actually react back, it's like, oh my god, actually he's way worse than I thought. He's this aggressive guy now, and
Yeah.
all I said was X Y Z. When
Yeah.
they don't actually think about, look, what you said was really insensitive, and
Yeah.
they are just humans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they would never ever say it openly to them on the street one on
Yeah.
one. It's that whole vibe of the arena, like thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in a crowd, especially if you're at home and you're heckling an away team. It's like, oh yeah, these people
Yeah.
have got to back me. You know what I mean? Like if you're alone,
Yeah.
you're not gonna act tough. But when you're in a group,
Yeah.
you feel like, oh, there's a communal hate towards these kind of people. So that's when it starts,
Yeah.
bubbling up for real.
That's probably happening. That's the thing. I feel like with that, it's just it's crazy because it's you would think basketball is I'm not gonna say it's a fully respectable game where players don't argue with referees, fans don't argue with referees, fans don't it happens, but basketball isn't a respectable game, but when it comes isn't a fully respectable game, but when it comes to fan and basketball interactions, being able to separate on the court bants to off the court bants, that's what I've seen
Hmm.
basketball as. But recently, as we've said, it's been just manic. Like it's just been crazy. Fans like the Lakers who have been and the Celtics who have been spoilt to dust. And then when stuff hits the fan, it's another different
Yeah.
vibe.
So, addressing that whole Lakers situation, we've obviously spoken about how bad the Lakers are, and in my personal opinion, if you're not willing to accept the criticism openly, play better.
Yeah,
That's that's
yeah,
really how it is. Like,
yeah.
um,
It's true.
but I just wanted to address Draymond Green on his podcast. He openly called Lakers fans for being ungrateful because obviously they're one of the supreme teams in the league with X
Yeah,
amount of
yeah,
championships, right? So
yeah,
I understand it from that perspective, but it's like, in my personal opinion, if you are being paid significant amount of money to play
yeah. And you're not
and you're not
performing.
performing well, you should expect that, and you should take it
Yeah,
upon yourself to be like, all right, this should be a wake up call for us. But as we've seen with the Lakers, it kind of hasn't been. And my only concern with heckling, as far as that goes, is people who aren't involved in the game themselves. So, as you just mentioned, Westbrook talking about leave my family out of this because they are the innocent people who could get
who don't?
conflicted by this and could get potentially hurt by over aggressive fans. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah,
to me, it's like I believe Westbrook should take it on the shoulder, like accept all the criticism that's coming to him. Because if you've seen
yeah,
his performances, I'm surprised. I'm
yeah.
surprised nothing worse has happened.
But the thing is, I feel like it goes with the player as well, with the
Yeah.
history of the player. Like Westbrook is known to be a stat padder, known to be. I'm not gonna say a stat padder. I'm gonna say he's known to want to do everything, and known to want to get the points, get the rebounds, get the steals, get the blocks, get everything. And then when it came to not being able to do that per se. It's his identity, and for him to be like, "Yo, why am I getting all of this?" It's him. Like
Mm,
when he doesn't perform in OKC, people heckle him all the time. When he didn't perform in Washington, people heckle him all the time. When he didn't perform in Houston, not only were fans heckling him, players were guarding him from the blooming charge circle,
yeah,
saying, "You know what? You take that shot. I'm gonna stay in the charge circle and catch the rebound."
exactly.
But but then he needs to back that up that he can come back,
Yeah.
and I feel like he struggled to do that, which then will give the fans to be like, "Oh no, we can use this on him." Whereas Steph, for example, Steph can have a night where he goes 5 of 25,
Mm-hmm.
but then you have fans backing up saying, "Ah, he'll have a great one afterwards," and he will. But that comes down to the player. It's the same with you. Go on, yeah,
That's a
go on.
good point that you mentioned, actually. It's all down to reputation. Because for me, I'm never going to cuss Steph Curry out because I know that it's just a slump. But with Westbrook, you've seen over the years that his stats have been relatively similar in the
Yeah,
negative zone. Westbrook's reputation hasn't been great at all.
no, it hasn't.
So
Hasn't.
heckling has stuck by him all his career because of how bad he's performed. And the only way I feel like he can redeem himself, which in my honest opinion is a bit too late because he's declined athletically and obviously due to age and stuff, he's gonna have to deal with it for the rest of his career, whether he likes it or not. But just a personal question from me to you, because obviously haven't been in this scenario before, but as a player, if somebody heckles you, does it creep into your mind negatively or positively, in a way it's like where it's like, all right, I'm gonna shut this fan up.
Exactly that. It's exactly that. Like it's gonna be like, you think I'm this? Cool. Say no more. Let me prove you wrong. And then if I was to prove them wrong, I would always. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that does this, but I would always look at the fan and be like, "This is your fault," and then kind of play on.
Yeah.
But then after that, I kind of ignore it. But then when it comes to finishing the game, it's kind of like good one, da 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 da, and there's no bad blood there. And that's what I'm talking about. Like knowing the difference between on the court and off the court. As a player, you should know. Cool, fans are gonna heckle me. They're gonna call me. They're gonna call me names. They're gonna call me trash. They're gonna call me. If I airball a shot, they're gonna call me trash. And if I miss a layup, they're gonna call me washed. It's part of the game, and players do take it in a grain of salt. But as we said, there's a line.
With that being said, right, do you think that it makes the game better? Because from a viewer's perspective,
Yeah,
that kind of tension
yeah,
is entertaining. Like
yeah,
you want to see a response from the player, whether it is passive or not, because
yeah.
it's something memorable. You know what I mean? An example I'm gonna give is LeBron James. I think he was on the Cleveland Cavs
I
against
think
the
yeah,
Raptors, and Chris Bosh's wife was there.
yeah. This is back
Yeah.
in 2000. Yeah, the first stint with the
So
Cavs.
this
Yeah,
was long time ago. Chris Bosh's wife heckled LeBron, and
LeBron.
he just went on a straight tear. And to me, that's one of LeBron's most iconic moments because he reacted to it in such a like positive way,
Yeah,
if you want to call it
he
that.
he had another one when he was on the Lakers, and this is when NBA. I think NBA didn't have any fans, but people that worked for the team were able to watch. LeBron missed. I think it was going into the fourth quarter. At the end of the third, LeBron missed a jump shot to I think tie the game or go up or bring the game closer. And one of the front office members that he knows and he's quite has a good relationship with was like, yeah, good, this and that. And then he turned around and looked and was like, okay, cool,
Hmm.
say no more. And then every point he scored in the fourth, I think he went off in the fourth. Lakers won, beat the Cavs. Every point that he scored, you could see him playing defense, and every single time he played defense, his eyes was at the direction of the person that heckled
Yeah.
him.
I think it is good in that perspective because if the game gets a little bit mundane to watch, that
Yeah.
kind of thing can help spice it up.
Oh
But
yeah, hundred
obviously,
percent.
like we've talked about, there are limits to where that
Oh yeah,
goes. But
yeah,
moving on to another topic, fans have obviously, like we've said, been openly criticizing players.
yeah.
But in your opinion, do you think it's their place to say stuff like that? Because as of recent, due to social media and stuff, trade talks have
Yeah,
been one of the hottest things, whether it be on podcasts or social media posts.
yeah.
Like people,
This
I mean,
player,
even
this
you and
player.
me, like we are openly criticizing players in our previous episodes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you think that that is too far?
In terms of criticizing players, as a fan, that is part of it. That is part of it. It's part of being a fan. But I feel like when it comes to, how can I say, when it comes to a fan saying, see, there's different type of criticism. You can tell them that it's a bad shot. This is that. But when it comes to saying, oh, you're rubbish, you're trash, all that kind of stuff, I feel like that's when it's like, right, that person is earning millions playing the sport that you're watching.
Yeah.
I would never call. Okay, there's some players that I've called trash in the NBA,
Hmm.
and and it's kind of like, all right, cool, but I'm at home watching them whilst they're there earning money, whether they're on the bench or whether they're on the court.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, all right, cool, but I feel like when it comes to that point, it's kind of like, think before it whether you can kind of back it up, in my opinion, because it's just, you can't really say this person is this and that when really and truly he will probably beat you on a 1-on-1 easily.
Yeah, that's the point I wanted to make as well. So there were two instances that came to my mind when you started talking about that. So I think it was LeBron in a press conference. He was basically talking about how, yeah, they can heckle me, but at the end of the day, they go home back to their miserable lives.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
another one was Brian Scalabrine. He wasn't known to be like, the greatest player, but he absolutely smoked a guy in 1-on-1. And he
yeah.
said one of the most iconic things ever. And he said, I am closer to LeBron James than you are
Then
to
you,
me. And
yeah,
that to me was like, yeah,
yeah,
I actually forgot. Like, it takes a lot of skill to be in the NBA. And somebody
yeah,
who is the worst player in the NBA is probably better than 99%
yeah.
of talent
For the fans,
because
yeah,
it's
100%.
it's dwindled down to what, 400 or 500 players in the league, and
Yeah,
there's billions of people in the world. So how,
that I've tried.
yeah, how
Yeah,
could we as fans openly
say this.
criticize players when we don't know how much effort it took to get there?
Yeah, but I feel like that comes. That's the thing. As much as I can say, it comes with being a fan. Like, oh, you should do this, but oh, we should get this person for this person. It's just what a fan does, but at the same time, just as a fan, watch what you're saying, and realize that you're saying this, but they're in this, but this person that you're saying this about is in this situation, and you're in this situation. I just feel like it's how it is.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, like we've said previously, whatever a fan does say, I feel like a player should gather it up and be like, "Alright, cool. You're saying this about me. Let me show you why I'm in the NBA."
Another thing I wanted to ask is like, obviously, most fans
Yeah.
have never played the game of basketball
To
the
that extent.
yeah, to that high of a level.
Yeah.
And I would even go as far as the people who analyze sports professionally. Most, if not all of them, are not professional athletes. Yet, they are entitled to criticize players simply because it's their profession. And I do understand they are being paid to do that. But again, it's kind of in the same lane as you are essentially just a fan. So with that being said, what's your opinion on sports analysts?
I feel like now I feel like it's good. The fact is that there's been a lot more basketball players coming out and starting to analyze the game, and that's when analysts are starting to find their match because a lot of times these bosses like Richard Jefferson are coming on, Kendrick Perkins. You got the TNT crew. You got Kenny. You got Shaq. You got Charles, and you got Ernie, who everyone loves, and he always gives his honest opinion about it. But then you've got guys like
Yeah,
Skip
Stephen
Bayless
A.
and Stephen A. and
Mm.
Max Kellerman, all these other analysts that have never touched, well, may have touched the basketball, but were never as good. And it's like they're getting all these numbers. Oh, this purchase efficiency rating is minus 2, and that's really bad. And it's this and that, and it's like okay, cool. But if you were to do what he's doing, would you be able to get that efficiency rating you're trying to get? And for me, it annoys me because especially Skip Bayless. No one. Skip Bayless is one of them ones where I'm just like,
Yeah.
shut up.
I mean,
Like,
in my honest opinion, I think the people who actually haven't played basketball, so i.e. Skip, Stephen A, Max Kellerman, Colin Coward, they come out with some of them with egregious statements. And to me it's like you need to kind of lower your tone down. But I
yeah,
do get
yeah.
the basic fact that it is for TV ratings. You need to kind of, up
Oh yeah,
your
it's
yeah, you need to
entertainment.
up your
Yeah,
charisma and put every single emotion to 110% in order for it to be successful. Because if you're kind of
yeah,
mundane, it's hard to listen to, it's hard to watch. So I
yeah.
do understand that, but I think again there just needs to be a sort of realization that, like, look, I'm not a professional athlete. And with that being said, like, I do respect companies like TNT who are openly recruiting.
P- Players, former
Yeah.
players.
So they're recruiting players and former players to join their team to give
Yeah,
more in-depth analysis because they know what it's like on the court. Um, but
yeah,
I quickly actually want to address this. Some of the players on that list, they're not exactly A-listers.
yeah,
And I don't know if you are catching on to who I'm talking about, but Kendrick Perkins and Richard Jefferson, they're not exactly they're not exactly star players, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, yeah. No, I get what you mean. I get what
what
you
are
mean. Yeah, yeah,
your opinions on those kind of players who can openly criticize, let's say, former teammates, for example, but their
yeah.
stats don't really add up to it?
Back up the yeah. I feel like it's for me. Even I feel like it's all right. These guys, these are the players. No matter how good or bad they are, these are the players that go through the film, go through the stats, go through everything. So I feel like for me, fair enough, you can say all of this, but at the same time, certain people won't take them
Hmm.
seriously. So like me personally, Richard Jefferson, I can take him seriously. I'm cool with that. I can't because he's a joker and he does it for bants. But like someone like Perkins, whose highlights are just him setting
Yeah,
screens.
it literally lasts like
That's
30 seconds to watch a full career highlight reel.
then it's like
Mm.
it's like all right, cool. You can say what you want, but at the same time, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, but these guys are what? These guys at one point in their life literally woke up, went to practice facility, ate breakfast, did gym, did training, did individuals, all of this kind of stuff. So at some point, it was their lives and their livelihood. So they know what they're talking
I
about.
think there just needs to be a little bit of substance to what they're saying, in the
Yeah,
sense that sometimes when they make points, they run the same point
Yeah,
over and over again, and it just becomes dry to the point where it's like you can't
yeah,
point anything else out about his game.
yeah. It's
Um,
true. It's true. It's very true.
but again, to kind of round things off, my final thoughts on the whole heckling situation is, like we said, yeah, it's a part of the game. But at the end of the day, I think
Yeah,
players need to understand all fans, whether they love or they hate you, are fans at the end of the day. And most
yeah.
of the negative attention that you're receiving from people are just fans wanting attention. So they all love you,
Oh yeah, yeah,
but they pretend to
yeah. It's true.
hate you for you to notice them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. No, I do. No, and you're completely right because at the end of the day, as we said, fans are fans. It needs to be a way where listen, this person probably absolutely loves you and is amazed by every single little thing you do. They just want you to be like they just want to and go home and be like, oh my god, LeBron argued with me, or KD spoke back to me. Oh my god, they don't care what you said. You can tell them you stink. You have bo. The fan wouldn't care to be like, oh my god,
Yeah,
KD spoke to me,
exactly.
bro. KD said this. Steph said this. Like the Forbes guy, the guy that Steph threw his mouth guard at. Imagine that. He probably went to his mates the other day and was like, the straight after that game was just like, Steph Curry's mouth guard touched my butt. Like
Yeah.
it hit my butt. Like that's cool. But it's just that they need to remember that. But I feel like it gets very heated in the moment of the game, especially now playoffs is coming up, and there's a lot of especially with this playing tournament, it's made everything a lot more intense and a lot more. No, we need to win this amount of games if we even want to be in the
Mm.
playoffs, e.g. the Lakers. So it's kind of like cool. Let's just get this done.
Final question. With the way that you see the game going in terms of fan interaction with players, do you think that the direction it's going in currently is going to be better or worse? Like, will the heckling and stuff ramp up way more than what we've seen in previous years?
I think it all depends on how the teams start reacting to it. Like if players are starting to become visibly upset about it, then I feel like that's when they're gonna be like, okay, let me include this in the ticket. If you at some point say any personal stuff about players or try and aim any kind of un unusual hate on players which is directly to them and directly personal, um security guards have every right to kick you out. I feel like that's when the game will change and they'll be like, okay, no, we need to watch out because every ticket has that behind the thing because I know in football tickets they have that where um a security member, any steward has the right to kind of kick you out
Mm-hmm.
without any proven evidence. If they heard you say it, they can just be like, get out, and then you have to get out.
Yeah.
So I feel like once teams start implementing that, then it's gonna be like, okay, cool, let me stop trying to go personal and go back because it's either gonna take that or another Malice in the Palace to happen.
Yeah, so I was actually going to ask that. How long do you think it's going to take with the way that it's going before another incident like that will happen? Because to me, I think it's gonna happen relatively soon, especially with a team like the Lakers.
I don't think it will happen only because players back then, I'm saying back then like it happened 30, 40 years ago, but players then were a lot more, especially that team were a lot more outgoing and a lot more
Aggressive.
aggressive.
Mm.
Like they had Ron Artest in the team, who at the point, I mean, there is a documentary in it. If you haven't watched it, it's on Netflix, and it does show the players' point of view that the fans did initiate everything,
Hmm.
and it's kind of like with everything that Meta World Peace was going through, and what the fans were saying, it kind of got into everything together, and it kind of just exploded.
Yeah.
and that then goes into player mental health and all that kind of stuff, which again we'll probably talk about in another episode,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. But I feel like I don't think it's gonna happen, but we're getting closer and closer to it. But with the players there are now, the players are a lot more professional. Players are a lot more media trained, a lot more are trained more in professionalism. Whereas back then it was here's a contract, go train, play basketball, do what you have to do, do a couple press conferences, you'll be all right. Whereas now they're like, you have to hold yourself accountable to this, that, the other. Social media is a massive, massive thing. Back in Manchester in the Palace, social media just started, probably had MySpace, all that kind of stuff, and there wasn't no Twitter, there wasn't no Snapchat, there wasn't no Reddit, no anything like that. It was purely just basketball and fans heckling you. But nowadays, it's a lot more than that. It's a lot of death threats, a lot of this and that, bro. So hopefully it doesn't happen. I don't see it going in the direction, but the more and more instances happen, the more and more I think it's getting closer and closer.
Yeah, so I completely agree with you. The only bit where I find it a little bit concerning is how outspoken NBA players have started becoming. It's going to break the barrier between what's being said online and
Yeah,
in person. And somebody, I don't know who, I can't tell who, is going to react in a way where it's just going to turn out violent.
yeah,
So that's going to wrap up episode 3 of the Swingman podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this one. I definitely did. And if you did, please be sure to leave your comments down below. It's always good to hear from you guys. And because today's topic was such a slippery slope, considering we are all fans of basketball, it would be nice to hear some differing opinions. And I'll be sure to get back at you in the comments. But if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, click that bell icon to be notified about when every new episode is released on the channel. But until then, guys, take care and goodbye.